Dear Shambra, we talked about it the other night on our radio program. We talked about this issue of trust. And it's very, very important to understand where you are. You don't have to assign it a number, but do you really trust yourself implicitly? Do you trust your body? Do you trust your choices? Do you trust your decisions? Do you trust spirit? Do you trust life? Do you trust living in this world right now that's filled with a lot of chaos? Do you trust absolutely being yourself without abandon? Standing up in front of a group and singing. Doing something outrageous. Do you trust that this whole part of your journey that you're in right now, called your spiritual enlightenment awakening, is real? Or is it just more junk? You see, so I bring this point up and I kind of push on it to irritate it. Where are you with trust in yourself? Because it's going to be hard to go forward, or let's say expand much more, if you don't at least understand your level of trust. Now, it's not even that you have to trust yourself 100%, but it's about understanding why you don't trust parts of yourself. Talked the other night about, well, let me give an example. Let's say that you get up tomorrow morning and you're very nauseous, very sick, sweating, perspiring, throwing up. What's the first thing you do? Run to the toilet, I hope. Second, what did I do wrong? What did I eat that was bad? Click, 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 click through the mind, evaluating everything. Next, what is Spirit trying to tell me? Next, maybe my body is more powerful than my soul. Because look at me, I'm getting sick. Now, you deal with it. You do a lot of releasing in the toilet. Well, you're still feeling awful, and you decide to sit down at your computer and do a little work. The phone rings, and you jerk because you're not feeling so good. And when you do, you knock your computer over, smoke comes out, and it burns up. Oh, no, this is going to be one of those days, you say to yourself. Why is my energy off? What am I doing wrong? Why is this happening to me? Am I being attacked by spooks? Alien beings? Maybe there's an evil energy lurking somewhere in my house. I know I should have called somebody to do feng shui to get out the evil energy, and now they're taking over. So you deal with it, you put out the fire, you realize that you are without computer. So you decide to hop in the car, and you know what's going to happen next. To go down to the computer store. And while you're driving down the street, thinking about your so far miserable day, car accident. Nobody gets hurt, but your car is now smoking. Looks kind of like your computer with wheels. It's totaled. It's totaled. And you say, what am I doing wrong? Now, given all of this, oh, by the way, while you're standing there waiting for the police to show up, you realize you don't have your driver's license or your automobile registration. You left them at home, and you've now pulled out your wallet, and you're looking through that, and somebody walks along and steals it and runs down the street. Now, should have stayed in bed? No. Wrong answer. Question: can you be in such a place of trust to know this is absolutely perfect? And can you actually laugh out loud? I know I created this. God didn't create it. Adamus? No, he didn't create it. The evil spirits didn't create it. I created it? Can you be at that level of trust and say, damn, this is fun? Or at least I know it's going to evolve from this point forward. That's trust. That's trust. Like a few other scenarios while the police are coming. Oh, I won't go there. So that's trust. Every day we, Crimson Council, we get thousands of complaints from Shambra around the world. Why is this happening? Well, the answer that we give is because you created it. Why are these things happening in my life? Oh, it must be because I need to go out and take a crystal class, and I need to, take vitamins, and you get all wrapped up. What if you had such a level of trust, you know implicitly that it is perfection? What if all of these things that have happened to you today, and when you call for a taxi now to take you home, you meet somebody, perhaps a taxi driver, perhaps somebody else. Meet somebody that brings such gifts into your life. Maybe money, maybe love, friendship, teachings, whatever. Maybe all of these things that happened were part of the setup of you and what you would call your soul self, which your soul self really doesn't care about all the human incidentals. It wants to be with you. And you've called out for it. And when you did, that brought about a dynamic that's unstoppable, and it's going to happen. And thank God that there's wisdom in your soul that's going to now. Your soul didn't create these accidents, but it was an energy between you and your divine, an energy that was put out there and brings back the manifested experiences to make this all possible, and will continue to bring those experiences in. The soul doesn't really care if your car was smacked, because there are other cars. It doesn't care about your computer because it was time to give it up anyway. It was time to get a new one, because there's things you weren't doing that you could do with a new computer. Doesn't care that you barfed out your guts in the morning because it was releasing some toxins in your body that were stuck down there for a long time. It doesn't care about any of those things because you have a deeper understanding and a deeper wisdom. Now, what gets in the way? That humanoid aspect, that human aspect that doesn't like change, that doesn't want to move forward, that human aspect that doesn't believe its own self. It really doesn't. It doesn't believe itself because the human aspect is not real. It's manufactured. It's an act. And it really doesn't believe itself because it knows it's an act, but unfortunately, you don't know it's an act yet. All these things happening. You break a leg, you lose your job, whatever. What if you had absolute trust? What if you had a big smile and said, my own guidance from myself is allowing these things to happen to get me off the stick or whatever it is, to move things forward, to continue to expand. And the question is, can you have that level of trust? That's a big one. Can you have that level of trust when a wave of anxiety comes over you, as it has done lately, and say, everything is in perfect order in my life, in your life. If you miss an airplane, if you slip on the ice and fall and mess up your back, can you have that level of trust? Can you? Now, an interesting thing happens. I'll give you the end of the story. When you choose that, then you don't need to have all those things happen because you've already gotten unstuck. So part of you is fearing, oh my God, if I go into trust, I'm gonna lose my job, and my partner's gonna walk out on me, and my dog's gonna die, and oh my God, look at all the things. It's only because you're not at a 10, because you're a 2 or an 8 or a 7. The numbers don't matter. If there's any degree of untrust, whether you're at a 1 or a 9.9, it's all the same. It is all the same. So it doesn't matter if somebody said, I'm at a 2, it's the same as a 9.999. You're not trusting. You're not trusting. Very important point. Oh, take a deep breath. You're all getting so heady on me. Oh. What? You're like, well, how do I get in trust with myself? Make a choice and take a deep breath. That's all. And every time, here goes the clincher. In the next week or so, 10 days, week to 10 days, you will have an experience relating back to this very moment about trusting yourself. Something is going to happen, and I didn't say what. I just said something. And it's going to remind you, trigger you to our discussion that we're having here. And it'll give you an opportunity to make a very conscious choice. Do I trust myself? Or do I get into drama? Do I get into questioning? Do I get into feeling that I'm really not worthy? You have an experience. Write it down afterwards. Write just a short little story about it. It helps you ground that energy, and it could also be good for another upcoming book that we'll do together. There's kind of going to be a Zen day today. So, and thank you, Robert, for dressing. So would you mind standing up with the shawl? Very Zen look today. The Zen monk look. Yes. There is a word, a Zenish kind of word, for absolute trust in self. AHMYO. AHMYO. Can you say it? AHMYO. And in the other realms, it's really not a word. It's a kind of a vibration. AHMYO. Kind of rolls. Let's do it. AHMYO. Absolute trust. Not in the world, not in the outside world, not in other people, not in deities, entities, or anything else, not in aliens, but in yourself. AHMYO. AHMYO. I am that I am. I know whatever is happening in my life, I'm absolutely creating it for the higher good of myself. Not for punishment. Not for some, I can't swear, but not for some lesson. Not because I'm bad. I'm actually creating it for the greater good. The moment you get to that point, you unlock potentials that were previously unknown to you. The moment you can be in this place of AHMYO, absolute trust. I'm creating my own life. I don't care what the outside circumstances may look like. I'm still creating it. That's AHMYO. That's absolute, unconditional, unmental trust in self. AHMYO. When you're at that point, which you are, you just have to recognize it, then things can really start moving. Then we start to have some fun, which we'll do in just a moment. AHMYO. AHMYO is pure, absolutely pure, the purest self. The actually kind of the realization of the I am, AHMYO, where you stop doubting everything that happens, you stop trying to analyze it. Everything is created by me for whatever you want to call it, a higher good, for my own expansion, or for my joy of life. Every little thing. That level of trust in self is what all of the ascended masters aspired to, or experienced, I should say, in their final lifetimes on earth. That, AHMYO, is what you could say was the final and perhaps the most joyful step. Imagine, just for a moment, imagine, close your eyes if you choose to, but imagine what it's like to have absolute, unconditional trust in yourself. AHMYO. That includes trusting your body. Yes, even if it gets sick or if it has pain, can you trust it? AHMYO. No matter what happens, you created it for the love of self. What happens is when you truly begin to have the conscious understanding of AHMYO, you quit worrying about the little stuff. You quit worrying about what's going to happen next. You see, because you realize what happens next is absolutely perfect. But the moment you're in the state of AHMYO, it opens up all the potentials of an illness, which is really not an illness, it's just a clear signal. It opens up the potential of things like lack of abundance that you've been focusing on, or the lack for so long. Suddenly, when you say, I created that, it expands out. It opens up the true highest potential. Then you don't have to experience all the junk in your life anymore. And you don't bring in these, what you call bad scenarios, because there's no need for them anymore. What you would call your soul has now got your attention, and it was just asking to trust you, to trust yourself. So what would be the antithesis of AHMYO? Makyo. Absolutely. Makyo. Now, for some of you who don't know what that is, I would say the word for Makyo means false, delusional, distracting, and also can I say the word? I'll have to write the word, because I've been asked not to say bullshit in front of a group. There we go. The Spanish version, bullshit. Yes. No hable inglés. So, the opposite of AHMYO, which is purity, trust, no inhibition anymore, and truth, you could say in a way. Opposite is Makyo. Now, Makyo comes in, I generally associate the word with spiritual distraction or spiritual BS. And it happens. It happens to everyone I've ever known who's on the spiritual path, including Buddha, a lot of Makyo there, including some of the great spiritual leaders of the times, including every ascended master that I've ever known. They get to this point of Makyo in the journey. It happens kind of near the end of self-realization, and they start polluting themselves with a lot of crap, spiritual bullshit, rhetorical, dogmatic, organizational, and structural stuff. And that's why I irritate people sometimes, but I say, get off of the astrology. Now, I love astrology, but not when it's an addiction. I love crystals when they're adorning my hands and my body.
Welcome to my club.
As in jewelry. I love tarot when it's done right, when it's empowering. But all of these things, including sacred ground here, including Shambhala, can be Makyo. Mm-hmm. All of these things become distractions. They are false. They are put into place for a couple reasons. One, to fill a void. Because when you get to this part of the awakening process, suddenly you perceive up ahead as a big void, a big nothingness. In other words, you can't see past the release of all the human games. So it feels empty up ahead. So often you then put Makyo in the past, you put a lot of distractions in the path to fill a void. Now, be it known that there is no void in all of creation. It can't be. In this dimension, any other dimension, there is no void. There is no void. Get rid of that belief that there are voids. There can't be, because it's creation. Can't be. So you're loading up your future or this upcoming void with a bunch of crap. A game. The AHMYO is put there oftentimes because there is a resistance to ending the game. So these are more game chips or game toys that are put there. AHMYO is also put there, all this distraction and everything else, because you don't want to face the real issue that's in front of you right now, and that's AHMYO, trust. I have seen very wise, amazing, radiant, spiritual human beings who are very, very evolved on their path, as you would say, who are ready to take that final step into what you would call the ascension status, and suddenly they go AHMYO on me. Suddenly they get into falseness at the last moment. They have to fill it with something. They're literally afraid to go to this step. 100% trust in self. They can get to 99.9. But that has been a fearful line to cross. There's always a holdout. I can trust everything about me other than, and you fill in the blank, other than the way I look, other than my intelligence, how I appear to others. It's a big trap for spiritual workers, spiritual leaders. Suddenly they think they have to come off a certain way in front of others, wise, intelligent, seeping of white light and blessings and wise statements. Not at all. Not at all. Actually, the true spiritual teacher and worker gets real human because they're not afraid of it. They're not afraid.